And now, from the HBO Real Sports Studio in New York, your host, Bryant Gumbel.
Good evening, and welcome to Real Sports, where we begin tonight with a trip to the United Arab Emirates. A small nation on the Persian Gulf, the UAE is in many ways a rare Arab beacon of Western values. It's an American ally with a burgeoning capitalist economy and an increasingly international outlook, as evidenced in sports by the all-star field it annually attracts for golf's Dubai Classic. But for all its 21st century progress, the UAE is also home to a sinister remnant of another time, a time when people were bought, sold, and kept as slaves. As Bernard Goldberg reports, it's all being done in the name of sport.
It's a clear morning in the Arabian desert, a good day to go to the races. Camel racing is the national sport here in the United Arab Emirates, the favorite pastime among the fabulously wealthy sultans who run this country. If horse racing is the sport of kings, this is the sport of sheikhs. You can't shoot footage like this anymore in the Emirates. These shots were taken a couple of years ago, before the sheikhs barred outside cameras from the races. And exactly what is it they don't want you to see? Well, take a look at the jockeys. They're not grown men like in American horse racing, but small boys. The smaller the boy, the faster the camel. And they're not locals either, but foreign boys, brought here by smugglers in the human cargo business. Many of these boys have been kidnapped from their homes in Pakistan and Bangladesh. Others simply bought from their desperately poor families for as little as $500, so they can race for the pleasure of the sheikhs, who bet money, cars, even gold on the races. There's a word we've heard for boys like these, a word you don't normally hear in the 21st century.
Are these children slaves?
Definitely. Definitely. Why not? They are getting nothing. And these are the ages to get some education. These are the ages to get some good food, some good health. And they are getting nothing.
Ansar Bernie is a human rights advocate from Pakistan who has made dozens of secret visits to the desert stables where the jockeys are kept. He's seen how the boys live and work, which is why, so far, he snuck over 100 of them out of the camps and out of the country.
What do they tell you?
The atrocities. They will say, please take us away from here. Take me with you. Take wherever you would like. Take me from here.
This is a story about child slavery that the sheikhs who rule this land say does not exist. The United Arab Emirates, or UAE, is a small oil-rich kingdom overlooking the Persian Gulf. And on paper, they don't have child camel jockeys here anymore. In 1993, under pressure from the West, the sheikhs banned the use of jockeys under 15 years old and 100 pounds, a ban they reinforced in 2002. But that's only on paper. When we began investigating this story a few months after the latest ban, an early morning trip to the races revealed young boys everywhere. They were getting ready to race until the authorities spotted the camera crew. Then it became clear that the only ban the police were enforcing here was the one on cameras.
Cancel. No. علي من الشرطة أنا ما جودي خاطر أنا من هذا خلونا على كيفه هو عيال صبر عايز يصورون براحتهم لا عيال واقفين هناك يصورون الباص لا شال الشريط خلى مخبى شال الشريط خلى مخبى هذاك عند ريال.
So to find out just what was going on in the world of camel jockeys, Real Sports took a trip into the Arabian desert. We went with Ansar Bernie as he visited the camel tracks and stables, plotting his next rescue. Bernie and his wife Shaheen took our British cameraman David Higgs, outfitted with a hidden camera, for a 2-week trek through the UAE. The trip began at a training session at the country's main track, where there were no photography signs everywhere.
So it's quite clear that what is happening here is something that they want to take place in secret.
And just beyond the signs were the boys.
Hello. You're a tiny little one. You're all right.
One by one, boys as young as 3 years old were strapped onto the camels to begin their practice runs. They were training in 110-degree heat, riding into the finish area, then running into trucks to go back to the starting line all over again. Every jockey we met was very young and a world away from home.
Bangladesh. He's from Bangladesh.
Right. Does he know how old he is?
Kitne saal ke ho? He doesn't know.
We asked one of the trainers how he felt about the work these boys do. But for these boys, the only thing tougher than a day at the track is a day at home. Just down the road from the palaces of the sheikhs are the desert camps where the boys are kept.
These camps are quite a bit more like a prison camp than a place for children.
The camps often have no furniture and no electricity, but they do have plenty of barbed wire, just in case the boys get any ideas. And behind the locked gates, you can see them doing every kind of dirty work.
So he's clearing up the camel dung.
When we met Salim, a camel jockey since he was just 3 years old, he was boiling tea for his masters. Boys like Salim, we were told, are virtually starved to keep their weight down for racing.
Oh.
They can't take anything, only this biscuit and water and nothing.
This trainer agreed to tell us about how the boys are treated. We're hiding his face to protect him from possible repercussions.
If a boy grows above 50 pounds, the trainers decrease his food. And if he's already not eating, they make him work to lose weight.
As for shelter,
What, here? What, here? On the floor?
Yes.
This is where he sleeps?
On the fan.
Okay, well, it looks like this boy doesn't have a bed. He just lies here on the sand.
Yeah, he's telling us he sleeps here.
Right, that's where he lies.
So if they eat well, if they sleep well,
They will gain weight.
and that's the worst thing that could happen. They can't gain weight.
as bad as it is for some boys, it's even worse for others. Saddam told us his father back in Bangladesh had sold him to the camel camps, not for money to feed the family, but for liquor. Now he's got new problems.
Can we see?
Yes, they hit him and he has loads of bleeding.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. और ये क्या है? ये चोट कैसे? हाँ. This one is.
Yeah.
Pick him off the ground and throw him on the ground.
It's how they keep the boys in line, the trainer told us, and showed us just how brutal that training can be.
Oh my God, whenever they're not happy with a child or he makes some mistake, they would tie him with...
Tie him to the chains.
And after he's chained up, the boy is hit, sometimes with his own camel whip. We asked the trainers at this camp if all the boys get this treatment. Moments later, one of the boys showed up, and we asked him if he'd rather go home to his family.
When this child first came, he was crying for his mother. So the owner said to the trainer, tie him up with rope. He would hit him and say, stop crying. There's no other option for you.
Heading to the capital, Abu Dhabi, Ansar Bernie stopped off at the Pakistani embassy, where he learned of one boy who had been sent home just days earlier, in a box.
A boy died last week. He's about 5 or 6. He fell down from the camel.
So he was trampled by the camels. And we know, in fact, that he fell off the camel several times before eventually he fell off and was trampled to death.
Before we left, we made a final unannounced stop and walked in on 3 trainers and a few small jockeys, all sleeping together. We were told that 2 of them are, quote, lovers.
the big boy,
Yes.
was
On the top of
the young one.
The trainers have sex with these kids, and these children know they don't have anyone with them to protect them. They will have sex with the kid, and then they'll tell him, listen here, you bastard. If you tell anyone, I will kill you right here.
And it's all happening at camps and tracks run by some of the wealthiest people on earth.
The ruling families are in charge of the racing industry.
Yes.
They run the tracks.
Yes.
They own the camels.
Yeah.
Do they own the camps with us?
Yes.
But if the children are slaves, there's no escaping this. You're saying the rulers of the United Arab Emirates, the sheikhs,
Yeah.
are the slave traders.
Sure. They are. Those who are doing it involved in slave business. They are.
The track where we found these boys is run by the royal family of Dubai, the richest of the Emirates. It's the playground of the Crown Prince, known around here simply as Sheikh Mohammed. He's one of the richest and most powerful men in the Middle East, a man whose love of racing stretches far beyond the Arabian desert. Horse racing fans know Sheikh Mohammed as the man who had entries in 4 straight Kentucky Derbies a couple of years ago. Closer to home, he's spent untold millions in pursuit of camel racing glory. His family's complex includes a camel hospital, where his camels get the finest medical treatment, while new, faster ones are genetically engineered. These pampered animals train with the best equipment and cool off with daily dips in their very own pools. It's a life of luxury the camel jockeys will never know.
So the camels eat better, they live better. If they get sick, they get better treatment. Than the young boys.
Yeah. Because according to these sheikhs, these camels are very expensive. But not the human beings, not the children.
Yeah, the boys are $500.
Yeah. And the camels are in millions.
And if you believe the sheikhs, everything we saw in the desert was just a mirage. Listen to the head of the Camel Racing Federation after the latest ban on child jockeys took effect in 2002. He made it sound like we'd have a better chance of finding a waterfall in the desert than finding an underage jockey in his country.
Absolutely impossible. Absolutely impossible. Absolutely impossible to find a jockey who is below 15 years of age. And it will never, never happen. I totally dismiss this argument. This is impossible.
But by the time the trip was done, Ansar Bernie had a long list of boys he hoped to sneak out of the camps. It was just a question of where he would take them. Some of these boys, after all, were too young to tell him anything at all, least of all, where they might have come from.
Bernie, UAE officials wouldn't speak with you, but I understand they sent you a letter?
Yeah, we tried to talk to them. And for a while, they indicated they would talk to us, but then they just stopped returning our phone calls. But we did get a letter from them just a few days ago. And the letter basically says, we're against this kind of thing. It's against the law in our country. And do you remember the scene in Casablanca where the policeman says, gambling? I'm shocked. Well, this is basically the Casablanca defense, that they're shocked that this is happening in their country, and they are adamantly, they say, against it.
That age ban of 2002, was it ever really in effect, or was it always just a guise?
It was always on paper. Reinstated in 2002 from 1993. So on paper, they've done all the right things, but the paper never jibed with reality.
Those who are engaged in this, are they immune to international pressure?
Well, you know, the United States can put sanctions on countries that do things like this, but what kind of sanctions, in reality, are you going to impose on a nation like the United Arab Emirates, where the streets might as well be paved with gold?
Yeah, it's like giving financial incentive to Bill Gates.
Yeah. What are you going to tell Bill Gates, that we're going to take what away from you? Yeah. So they're immune in that the sultans and sheikhs run the country.
As Bernie noted, exposing the plight of these camel jockeys is only part of Ansar Bernie's mission. Putting an end to the practice and saving those involved are also his priorities. We focus on those ends in the second part of our story from the UAE.